When a rapper is tragically shot and loses their life, everyone's reminded just how dangerous this current world really is for all of these up-and-coming stars. This is 10 times that rappers have been shot. We got Pop Smoke, who is described by many to be the face of Brooklyn drill. Born and raised in Canarsie, Brooklyn, Pop Smoke began his musical career in 2018 and started to pick up some major traction off the back of his music, starting from his single NPR. However, at 20 years old, his promising career came to an unexpected halt. On February 19th of 2020, Pop Smoke was shot and killed when a group of people broke into his home in Hollywood Hills. As of now, the incident is still being investigated. Officers have said that homes in Los Angeles rented by musicians are highly targeted by home invaders, and while there's no official motive yet, the police suspect the home invaders that killed Pop Smoke are more than likely gang-affiliated, and that he has had ties with the Crips. It could still be a long time before the entire story is told. What we do know is that Pop Smoke's death was and still is a huge shock to the rap world, with rappers, NBA players, and other celebrities all coming out to talk about how upset they were after hearing the news. Nipsey Hussle was more than just a rapper. He grew up in Crenshaw, South Los Angeles. Throughout his life, he gave back to the community almost constantly, and he started to become more and more successful in his rap career and made more money. He chose to find improvements in the schools in the neighborhood. He held panels and hosted speeches where he talked about his experiences growing up in the area to discourage gang culture and major violence. He even set up a meeting with Rock Nation to discuss how they could better prevent gang violence in the area. The impact that Nipsey had in the Crenshaw area was huge, and he was well known throughout the neighborhood. He opened up his Marathon clothing store on June 17, 2017, and that store would unfortunately be where the incident that led to his death happened. On March 31, 2019, Nipsey got into an argument with Eric Holder, which led to Holder allegedly leaving, then coming back and shooting Nipsey at least 10 times in the parking lot at Marathon Clothing. There were also 2 other people that were wounded in the shooting, and all 3 of them were taken to the hospital where Nipsey was pronounced dead. His death was a huge impact on the LA area and in the rap community. There was even a memorial service at the Staples Center. Celebrities all around the world talked about his death, even ex-President Barack Obama praising, saying, "While most folks look at the Crenshaw neighborhood where he grew up and only see gangs, bullets, and despair, Nipsey saw potential." 21 Savage has had a very chaotic life. Not everyone can say that they grow up to be one of the biggest rappers in the world, have been nearly deported from the US and shot 6 times on his 21st birthday. The incident happened back on October 22, 2013. Basically, what had happened was 21 and his friend Johnny were apparently meeting someone for a deal. Now, 21 obviously isn't able to recall the story very well considering what happened, but apparently the deal turned to an attempted robbery, and Johnny was shot in the head and 21 was shot 6 times. He apparently tried to shoot back to defend himself, but he was obviously wounded. He then got out of the car, lit a cigarette, and waited around 30 minutes for an ambulance to come. That's just crazy. 21 actually took a bullet to the neck, causing nerve damage, so it's very surprising that he didn't end up paralyzed or dying in the end. In an interview with Fader magazine, 21 was asked if he thought he was going to die. He said, "Yeah, a whole lot of blood loss, a whole lot of loss. But I guess they say your adrenaline be rushing so you don't really feel it when it's going on." The situation had to be terrifying for 21, seeing that his own friend was being murdered right in front of him. And his incident actually inspired his tattoo that says Johnny in honor of the friend that he lost that very day. XXXTentacion's death was an incident that had a huge impact that even today is still talked about in the rap community. On June 18, 2018, X was robbed and shot dead in broad daylight in his BMW i8 on Pompano Beach, Florida. The surveillance footage showed 2 masked men getting out of a car after blocking his BMW at an intersection. They went to the window and held him up for his chain. When X refused to hand it over, they shot him dead afterwards. They stole his Louis Vuitton bag that had $50,000 in cash. And immediately after the news broke, the rap community was devastated as millions of fans shared their thoughts and how much X's music meant to them. Rappers and other celebrities all came out to talk about how much the world was going to miss this genius and how he was on his way to becoming one of the biggest rappers out there. During the investigation, a lot of claims were thrown around trying to explain the shocking incident, with some even calling it an inside job, claiming that somebody on the inside knew where he was going to be at that exact time and murdered him. However, the police ended up catching those responsible for the murder of X, and all 4 of them, including those that were still in the car, were charged with first-degree murder and armed robbery. X's murder still looks back in history today as one of the most tragic events that happened, considering he was only 20 years old at the time, being being murdered just seemed insane. It seemed that more and more rappers around the same age are continuing to lose their lives. Is this a result of addiction to violence or something else? Let us know what you think about this in the comment section below. For a long time, Lil Wayne let it be known publicly that when he was 12 years old, he shot himself in the chest with a gun that he found in his mother's home, located in New Orleans. He missed his heart by only 3 inches, and for a long time, he let them believe that what happened was just a freak accident. It was easy to believe because it's the kind of thing that happens from time to time, where if a gun isn't safely put away, a kid gets a hold of it and accidentally hurts themselves because they know no better. However, a song Let It All Work Out from his 2018 album, The Cart 5, he admitted that the incident was not an accident, but it was an attempt to take his own life. In the song, Wayne said, "I found my mama's pistol where she always hide it. I cry, put it to my head, and thought about it. Nobody was home to stop me, so I called my auntie, hung up, then put the gun up to my heart and pondered. Too much was on my conscience to be smart about it, too torn apart about it. I aim where my heart was pounding, I shot it, and I woke up with blood all around me. It's mine. I didn't die, but I was dying." And originally, this wasn't going to be included in the song, but Lil Wayne said that after some high-profile people like Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain had taken their own lives, he thought that it was an important message to get out there. The president of Young Money Entertainment opened up to Billboard about Wayne's thought process while saying, "He told me one day that he was ready to address it now, just being an adult, reaching a level of maturity and comfort. Whereas I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people out there might be going through that." The message wasn't important when considering, how many people do you struggle with thoughts that are similar to those Lil Wayne may have had back when he was 12. And it is inspiring to know that because he survived that day and didn't try it again, he became a superstar and was the most influential rapper of all time. Jimmy Wopo was an upcoming rapper in Pittsburgh. Wopo's future was unfortunately cut short when he was shot and killed in the drive-by in his hometown. A lot of people missed the news in this incident considering that it happened on June 18, 2018, the exact same day that XXXTentacion was killed in his car. The incident happened around 4 p.m. in the Hill District of Pittsburgh. Both Wopo and the man he was riding with were rushed to the hospital, where Wopo's manager confirmed that he died while the other man, who wasn't named, was in stable condition. While the rap community was feeling the effects of X's death, Wopo's death was being overshadowed in the headlines. His manager wrote on Facebook about the incident, saying, "I lost my brother today. That's the worst feeling in the world. He was destined for greatness, and he wanted the best for his friends, family, and community. We lost a great person today, but just know that I'll do everything in my power to make his memory live out forever. Love you, bro." 50 Cent has gone from simply being a rapper to a pop culture icon throughout his long career. In his early years, 50 Cent had a pretty quick introduction to crime, considering at only 12 years old, he started dealing drugs. He was later arrested in high school for possession. It's safe to say that 50 Cent has had a pretty wild life. However, the story wouldn't be complete without the craziest thing that has ever happened to him. That's obviously when he was shot 9 times. In 2000, 50 Cent was sitting in a friend's car outside of his grandma's house when another car pulled up next to them and the driver let up 9 shots from a 9mm handgun. 50 was shot in the hand, arm, hip, both legs, chest, and his left cheek. The shots through his cheek left his tongue permanently swollen and slurring his voice, which gave him his unique sound when he raps. Somehow, after being shot so many times, he survived with very little actual damage to anything other than his tongue. There's even a fragment of a bullet somewhere that still lives in his mouth. When he was at the hospital, the doctor decided that removing it would do more damage than it would help, so she left it in. 50 only spent 13 days in the hospital recovering from his insane shooting. 50 Cent's reputation is one of the hardest rappers out there because there aren't that many rappers that have survived being shot, but there are almost none that have been shot 9 times and survived other than 50 Cent himself. Waka Flocka is one of those rappers who just can't seem to get away from life-threatening violent situations. In 2010, Flocka was washing his car as a man approached him and tried to mug him for his jewelry. According to police, a scuffle broke out, and soon after, Flocka was shot in the arm by the man. Flocka ended up fleeing the scene and only spent a few days in the hospital recovering. The incident was obviously pretty scary, but in the end, it left him unharmed once he recovered from the shot. However, this isn't actually the craziest incident that Flocka has been involved in during his long career. In 2019, Flocka was involved in an intense situation in an Atlanta recording studio. Apparently, him and 9 others were around him in the studio when 3 people started shooting at them. Surprisingly, only 1 man was shot in the arm, and he was taken to the hospital to be treated for his injuries. And when police arrived, there were 2 men that were protecting the studio from the gunfire that were detained but ended up being let go. Even though probably dozens of shots were fired in the studio at the time, Waka Flocka was completely fine, and some reports reports even stated that the men may have been targeting him in the shooting. The craziest thing about this incident, other than the fact that it happened right outside a studio, is that it happened only a few days after the tragic shooting that ended up killing Nipsey Hussle in LA. In February of 2009, Rich the Kid was involved in an insane situation that could have resulted in him or one of his friends being shot. According to reports, Rich and a few others were standing outside of the studio on West Hollywood when a man attempted an armed robbery on Rich. And during the incident, one of his friends said the man pistol whipped Rich the Kid. He then fled the scene and apparently shot at Rich and his crew over a dozen times. He apparently got into a white vehicle and got away from the scene. However, the police eventually showed up and helicopter footage showed Rich being attended to by paramedics. It was reported that he wasn't injured during the incident, even though it was a super close call, surprisingly. This wasn't the first time that Rich could have easily been shot. During a robbery in June of 2018, he was hospitalized after someone broke into his home in Los Angeles. They reportedly pistol whipped and robbed jewelry along with multiple other possessions. Considering June 2018 was the same month that X was shot and killed, the situation must have been terrifying for not only Rich, but also for his fans when they heard the news that someone had broken into his house and he was sent to the hospital. However, Rich the Kid ended up making a full recovery. Now, for NBA YoungBoy, things happened a bit differently. He didn't necessarily get hurt, but he was still involved in a shooting that caused a lot of chaos that broke out. In May of 2019, he was a part of an incident in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, which left one person dead and multiple other people injured. Basically what happened, according to witness testimony, is that YoungBoy and his crew got into an argument with another group of men, and not too long after, shots were being fired. As a result, YoungBoy's girlfriend at the time was shot. A hotel employee, who was an innocent bystander, was shot and unfortunately was pronounced dead. A few minutes later, another shooting actually broke out between the two groups, leaving a driver shot and badly injured. The situation was out of control until the police arrived. Shortly after the second incident, YoungBoy and his crew were let off the hook by police because it was determined that they acted in self-defense. But the men that shot at them did end up getting away. Shortly afterwards, at least, they were on the lookout for 3 suspects who reportedly were armed with an AK-47 and multiple handguns. What's scariest about this is not only did it happen in the middle of a crowded street in broad daylight where hundreds of innocent people are in the line of fire, but an innocent person was killed. Like a lot of other rappers who've been involved in similar incidents, YoungBoy is only 20 years old. He's already experiencing insanely close calls like this. Hopefully it was a wake-up call and he can stay out of trouble in the future. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe and notification button to stay up to date with all of our new videos. Until next time.